Okay, guys, hello and welcome back to Icewater Yoga. My name is Amanda, and today we're going to do a class focusing on building knee strength and being very conscious of the ways that we're engaging our knees in different poses. And so I speak from experience. I have a pretty funky right knee, and for years I would go into yoga classes and feel like my pain was actually getting worse. And that was because at that time, it's sort of like a series of unfortunate events. I didn't know how to protect myself. And I was also practicing in really crowded classrooms where the teacher wasn't able or didn't have enough time to give advice as to what you should be doing to protect your knees and your whole legs, to be honest. So that's what we're gonna do today, focusing on lower body, specifically knees. Okay, so if you have a block, it would be great to grab one at home. If you don't have a block, no worries. We are going to start on our backs. And so if you do have a block, I want you to bring it in between your legs the long way. Right, so get real cozy in your inner thighs. And if you don't have a block, knees together, squeeze the inner thighs. Okay, and then go ahead and walk your heels back a little bit and shimmy your fingers forward so it's almost like you could kind of tickle your heels. And then we're going to take a deep breath in. And as you do that, press into the heels, lift the hips to the sky. So when you get to your peak, roll the meat of your shoulders under. And I want you to squeeze the block so much that you could almost spit it down. So the inner thighs start to roll down and the knees squeeze. And take a breath in, maybe press up a little higher. And as you exhale, lower the hips back down. We're going to start moving with the breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. And so keep going with that, inhaling to lift and exhaling to lower. But focus especially on the amount of weight you are driving into your heels. So that press from the ground up is what helps guide the block in a little bit higher. Let's do two more. Inhale to lift. And exhale, release. Last one, lifting the hips up. Here we pause. And give yourself a little extra roll under with the shoulders so you have some traction. We're just going to float our left foot up. So the foot extends directly from the knee point. Flex through the toes. Drive the heel away from you. Squeeze your knee. Hold here for 3, 2, 1. Rebend the foot. Plant it down. Balance yourself out. And then right leg shoots forward. Right, so really, the only thing that's moving is the bottom half of your leg. It extends directly from that knee, kind of like a hinge. Hold here for 3, 2, and 1. Slowly start to come down. Grab your block from in between your legs, and then shoot both feet up to the sky. So make sure that the heels are floating right over the hips. And then go ahead and hover your left foot down so it's just about 1 inch or 2 above the mat. As you inhale, roll the shoulder blades off the mat. And especially like the bottom tips of your shoulder blades, make sure they don't touch. It's gonna take a lot of core. So as you lift up, notice your low belly probably lifted a little bit too. Can you tone the belly, drawing it down towards the spine? We keep the lift in your chest. Take a big inhale here. As you exhale, just switch the legs past the block. Okay, and we'll hold here again, actively flexing through the feet, meaning almost like you're kind of giving a big kick to the sky so that the muscles around the knee engage. Keep that. Take one more inhale. Good, and exhale, switch. Then we're going to just go a little bit faster, weaving that block behind either leg. And you can get a little funky with it. If you want more, you can pass the block overhead, but keeping the legs going. Good, last 3, 2, and 1. Hold that block behind your leg. Release it down to the mat and then both feet up to the sky. Bottom tips of the shoulder blades still rolling off the mat, so stick with your core, then bend the knees. I want you to extend the hands forward. So you're curling into this tiny, tiny, tiny little ball, almost like you could balance just on one little piece of your spine. Take a big breath in here. And release. Back of the head can come down. And go ahead and rock your hips from side to side. And just let the knees hang over to the left for a second. Take a spinal twist. You'll notice that right knee is probably jogged a little bit away from the left. That's okay, just let them be where they are for now. Good, and then go ahead and bring the knees to the other side. And so a little bit of softening after that core work, but we're gonna keep the heat building. So take advantage of this stillness for one more inhale. Good, and then as you exhale, draw the knees back into the chest. Find a rock forward and back a couple of times until you come all the way forward into a tabletop. Good, and so from tabletop, if you have the block again, go ahead and grab it, and I want you to place it in your sacrum. It's that like flat part of your back where your tailbone is. Good, and then from this place, shoulders stack over the wrists, press into the palms so it's almost like you're pushing the ground away. And then go ahead and stretch your right hand forward. So just noticing how that balance feels for you. When you feel stable, float the left leg up. Good, so now we have this block here because I want it to help us understand where our hips are in space. Notice, if I start to open up and compensate on that left side, the block's gonna slide off my back. So go ahead, do your best to keep that block balance, keep all limbs extending and squeeze that left knee. One more inhale. And exhale, set it down. Right when you get there, switch sides. So if you think about the flexion in that right foot, draw your attention specifically to your pinky toe. If you feel like the pinky toe is kind of running parallel with the ground, can you square it? It's almost like if there was a laser coming out of that toe, it would shoot right down towards the earth. Take one more breath in, getting a little longer. And exhale, set it down. So we're gonna take our block and then do that same action. We'll place it in between our thighs, nice and long, a little cozy. And then come up into your downward facing dog. So I really like having a block in dog and plank because it gives us feedback from something that is in our body. So rather than this block just kind of being there, can you so actively squeeze it that kind of like a Pez dispenser, if you remember those? It's almost like your legs are that Pez dispenser. You could shoot this block out from behind you. So keep that action going. Keep the knees squeezed. Take an inhale as we come forward into a plank pose. As you exhale, bend the elbows halfway. Long body, long spine. Press back up to plank. Downward facing dog. Gonna do that 2 more times. Inhale, plank pose. Exhale, chaturanga. Back to plank. And dog, doing it with a smooth face, unclenched jaw. Inhale, plank. Lower halfway. Plank pose. Downward facing dog. And then go ahead and take your block out of the way. You can place it to the side for now. And then just check in on your dog, making sure the hips feel nice and good. Feet are about hip width distance. Any shimmies, any movement that you need to get that fidgetiness out of the way. And the question I would ask yourself, or have you ask yourself is there any way to make your spine a little longer? By pulling the hips back, pressing into the base of both palms, and then maybe finding a soft bend in the knees, right? That soft bend helps to find some length in the spine. Let's take one more breath in here. And as you exhale, heavy down towards the mat, we'll take one breath in. And then as you exhale, knees down, child's pose just for a moment. So when you get to your child's pose, make a choice whether you want knees open so the chest can kind of hang in between the legs or knees closed. So I kind of like knees open, but you'll have to feel what that feels like in your body. So whatever you've chosen, stay here, just crawl both hands over to the left. So it'll come off your mat and bring your right palm on top of the left. So as you do that, draw your right hip point back a little bit and take a big breath into the right lung. And then as you come through center, start to switch sides. This time, left palm comes on top. And so you'll feel that big lateral stretch from that left hip up over the skin, covering the left lung, all the way up to the pinky finger. Good, and then go ahead and come back down center. Let's come back to our downward facing dog and bring our right leg to the sky. From here, bend your knee and open your hip and work on finding a stacking action so the hips start to place themselves on top of each other. Now, as you do that, can you be cautious of not letting the left shoulder drop? So just squaring action in the upper body. And then re-extend the leg to the sky. Take one more breath in here. As you exhale, step the right foot forward, bring the back knee down. We're in this little runner's lunge. So I like to come up onto the fingertips just to find some length in the spine first. And then from here, walk your right foot open to the right. Bring both hands inside of that right leg. And so the palms can plant and you find yourself in lizard pose. Now, if you have open hips, it's really nice to roll onto the outer corner of that right foot and let the knee fall open. But if you feel even the slightest hint of pain in the knee, keep that foot planted and your work is to hug that knee into the outer tricep. So we keep it nice and tight instead. So just find what works for you. And then we'll all start to plant that leg. Keep the left hand down, bring the right hand to the sky for a little twist. Take a big breath open here and then bend that left knee. Go ahead and capture it with your hand. Now, if you're at home and you're like, oh my God, my foot is so far away from my hand, you are not bad at yoga and you are not doing anything wrong. What is really nice is to find a strap, a t-shirt, a towel, kind of like a lasso, hook that back foot. And then it's that same action of drawing the heel towards the butt. And so take one more breath in here. Good, and then go ahead and release both hands to the mat. Come into your plank pose and then spin onto the side of the right foot. Left fingertips come to the sky for a side plank. So I think inherently that plank is about the arms, which it totally is. But how strong can you make the legs, engaging the knees here? Squeeze the knees, lift the hips, take one more breath in. And as you exhale, left hand down, keep that exhale going, lower chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. Once you get there, left foot comes to the sky. And then the same thing, we stack the hips by bending that knee and lifting the kneecap right towards the sky. And so we're just gonna hold here. I mean, you could point and flex the toes, but I want the work to be more about lifting that knee a little bit higher. Good, now start to square the hips off. Take one more breath here. As you exhale, step the foot forward. We find a runner's lunge again just to start. Long spine from crown of head through that lifted thigh, that squeezed knee, that strong right heel. Then set that right knee down. Left hand comes to the sky. So that same twist, notice one side feels a little better than the other. Now, if this is a little tough on your right knee, slide it back a little bit on the mat so that you're not right on top of the kneecap. That way, when we bend that foot to capture it, you're not crunching bone on bone or bone on mat. You're working with the muscle that's like just slightly on top of your kneecap. And then again, option here, you can let that left knee fall open to the side. Keep drawing that heel towards your butt. Take one more breath in. And as you exhale, release, plank pose. Side plank, right fingertips to the sky. Nice open chest. Strong, strong legs. Flex through the feet. Lift the hips 1 inch higher. And as you exhale, option again for that vinyasa, lowering down halfway. Strong body, inhale, find your back bend. And exhale, downward facing dog. So we're gonna start to move a little bit more. We'll bring our right foot to the sky. And as you exhale, step it up, warrior 2. So your back heel comes down. Front thigh works towards parallel. Open your arms up to a T. So I'm gonna ask you a question. I won't be able to hear the answer, but if I said, what knee do you think we care about in warrior 2? How many of you would say, okay, we care more about the front knee? Like that would be my initial reaction. And that's not true. We do think about the front knee, but
That back knee is really where the action is at when you're working into a warrior two shape. So I'll tell you this, back heel drives down, toes angle in at like a 45-degree angle, and then squeeze this knee like you have never squeezed it before. This back leg becomes your anchor. Drop in. Drop the shoulders, lengthen the neck. And then as you take a couple of breaths here, just noticing where any sensation, any resistance starts to bubble up. So for me, I feel it in the front of my thigh. I'm like, ooh, are we done yet? Or the front of the top of my front leg. Might be the same for you, but wherever it's at, can you visualize sending the breath to that place? Doing your best to steady, to relax it. Let's take one more breath in here. On your exhale, right hand comes down to the ground or a block, side angle pose. So in this side angle pose, arms come into a T shape. Don't lose the depth in that front leg. Then do your best to roll the rib cage, left or right ribs under. So we're starting to open the center of our heart towards the sky. Take one more breath in, make sure that back knee is still squeezing. Good, and then as you exhale, drive into the feet, come back to warrior two. Inhale, press the front leg straight, bring both heels in. So this is star pose, just a moment here to spread and open the chest. And then start to find your warrior two towards the left this time. And take my block with me. And so relatively the same setup. We're always a little bit different on that left or that right side. So you find your adjustments, but then immediately come back to that awareness of the back knee. Squeezing it so much so that it forces the top of that back thigh to make muscle. You can even knock on it, make sure it's there. And then again, once you've found that shape, stick in it like you are cemented there. Strong, steadfast. The only thing that's really moving is your breath. Let's take one more inhale. And then as you exhale, it's that side angle pose again. So I like having a block because what that does is it lifts your inner side body, right? Imagine if everyone was like struggling to get on the ground. That's not fun, and it takes away the work that we could be doing on strengthening our legs. So when you come up on a block, you have a little bit more lift. You can focus on the subtleties of the pose rather than worrying about just having your hand down for the sake of it. Keep squeezing that back knee. Take one more inhale. Good, and then as you exhale, press into both heels, come back to warrior two. Star pose. Legs straight, knees squeeze, arms lift up. And then as you breathe out, coming into goddess pose. So you might have to walk your feet in a little bit. The knees are gonna stack right over the hips. And to get started, we'll place our hands on the inner thighs. We'll take it easy to start. And I just want you to rock from side to side. Just noticing if there's any places that maybe bring up some tension, some resistance. Asking yourself if it's just that or if it's pain. If it's pain, that is always your cue to go a little bit easier in the pose or to quit it altogether. If it's just hard or it's just a stretch, maybe breathe through it. Okay, and then once that rocking is done, come down center. Just take a dip of your left shoulder towards your right knee, gazing up towards the sky behind you. And as you inhale, center, exhale, switch sides. Good, come back through center. And then from here, bring your hands to heart center. Yeah, now is where we start to work the knees and the tops of the thighs. So keeping your knees stacked right over your heels, drop the butt a little lower, lean the chest back a little bit, and use your strong inner thigh muscles to keep the knees tracking right over the big and second toes. Let's take one more breath, get to your depth. Yeah, and then as you exhale, press to standing, heel toe your feet together. Shake it off if you need to. And then bring your big toes together, heels apart. Chair pose. Butt low, arms come high. And rock a little bit more weight than you think you want to into your heels. Right? So it brings an extra challenge in. How far back can you go? And then how high can you lift the arms? Now, if this is too much on your shoulders, the arms can always come wider, but keep the elbows straight wherever they're at. Go, take one breath in here. And then as you exhale, hands to heart center and fold over the legs. Good, and once you're here, widen the feet about hip width distance and go ahead and grab opposite elbows. So kind of like a ragdoll. Just gonna sway from side to side. Adding in a light bend of one knee and then the other. So it's a really gentle movement. Just to get familiar with the mobility of your knees. And then adding a little more if you want to. So we might take our right hand, place it down in the front and in between both feet, and take a big bend into the right knee. Peel your left hand to the sky and take a big breath in here. Exhale, start to switch, big bend in the left knee, right hand up. And then you start to flow through this. So it's a very simple movement, but you get to play around with the depth of the bend in either knee, the expansion of your chest. And it gives you an opportunity to just drop into your breathing, which really is the key to it all. The key to slowing down, key to feeling better. Okay, after this last one, both hands come down. Go ahead and widen your feet to about mat width distance. It's a little wider than the hips, and then drop your butt down low. Come into Malasana or yogi squat. Now, if this feels like a lot, and maybe you can't get the heels down, an option is always, I'm using my mat the long way today, but an option would be to roll your mat up so that you have something to kind of step on. And if you don't need that, heels down. Now, when you get here, your elbows come to the inside of both knees and use some traction to press them open. And so you'll feel that the knees work in conjunction with the inner thighs to keep them working outwards. So from this place where the legs are working away from you, can you pull the chest through that gateway of your inner thighs, through the gateway of your legs? Take one breath here. And then just like in chair, a lot of weight in the heels. We'll bring our right hand down, staying here. Left hand just comes to the sky. Nice open twist. Exhale through center. Inhale, nice and easy. Tee the arms, gazing up towards right thumb. And back through center. Take one more breath in here. Good, and then as you breathe out, crawl your hands down in front of you. You might even tent the fingertips a little bit, kind of like you're holding a cupcake. And allow your head to drop. A lot of rounding in the upper back, even the mid back. Let your tail point down towards the ground. This should feel really good. Good. One more breath in here. And then there is no pretty way to do this. I'm going to say lean forward, jump your knees together, and sit your butt back on your heels. So if this feels like a lot on your knees, and for some of us it totally might be, a great thing to do is to take your block, scooch it in between your calf muscles. I lied. Let's put it in between our ankle bones, and then sit back on that block. So you have some lift, but you're still working on the stretch in your knees. Now, the other thing to think about is, can you work the knees towards each other so they're nice and tight, like they are glued together? And then place your palms on the tops of the thighs and give yourself a little bit of a massage using the base of your palms first in the hip creases, pressing down and away from you. And you can take that little self-massage working all the way down the tops of your thighs. Trying to keep a long spine as you do that. And then maybe when you get to your knees, letting your fingertips wrap around your kneecaps and just giving yourself some circles in one direction. And then some circles in the other. And then slowly starting that climb with the palms of your hands all the way back up your legs. And then from here, just a gentle twist. So bring your right hand down behind you, maybe to the right big toes. Left hand to the outer right thigh, maybe the knee. Nice and gentle. Take an inhale. Exhale, maybe twist deeper. One more breath in. And exhale through center. Let's take that twist to the other side. Right, so nothing too crazy. This is really just about creating a stronger foundation from the ground up. So twist doesn't have to be too deep. Good, and then go ahead and release that. And we'll take our block out of the way. Least graceful way of taking that block out. And then let's come into easy pose, Sukhasana. Right, so cross one shin in front of the other. And if you have super open hips or open hips and knees, I should say, and you can go a little deeper, double-seated pigeon, where the knees stack, the shin stack. Now, for a lot of us, double-seated pigeon, that top shin is going to be way up here. Start with Sukhasana. That's okay. Same action, just difference in depth. So we'll take our arms, take a big inhale, stretch all the way up to the sky. And as you exhale, fold forward. So the whole goal is always just trying to keep you safe, but keep the poses evolving for you. Like I used to always want to go to the deepest version of the pose, and that was always how I got hurt. So it's just so important to know where you're at and then be really gentle with yourself, not to place that like ego on top of this work, to be like, I have to get to that pose. Chances are, if you forget about the goal, you'll wind up getting there anyway. At least in yoga, I don't know about in real life. Okay, switch to the legs. Take your breath in, arms to the sky. Exhale, same thing, same folds. And the head can drop. I kind of like walking the fingers really far in front and then almost pulling the earth towards me. So you get that growth, that extra length from the spine. Super good. Okay, slowly start to release that. Walk the hands back up towards you. And then our last little thing together. Eyes closed or open. We allow both hands to come to the sky, taking a big, big, big inhale. And as you exhale, hands down, heart center, open the eyes, and we are done. Done for today, my friends. So a lot of easy, simple poses that can be turned up a couple of notches if you'd like, but they're also really good to be used at home when you're just getting up, or if you just got back from a workout, as restorative postures. Okay? It's practice of curiosity. It's seeing what works, what feels good, and then making some adjustments from there. So that is it. I hope to see you guys again soon. If you have any questions, you know where to find us, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.